Hey everybody, welcome back. I guess it's been quite a long time, hasn't it, since you've seen any sort of videos on my channel, so welcome back. Thank you for hanging around and sticking with the channel, I guess, and thank you guys for, I know people have kind of been commenting and stuff like that, so thanks a lot. I'm not going to kind of waste the first 10 minutes of this video kind of being like, hey, where have you been, sort of thing, because I'm not officially back. I just kind of wanted to record a video just to, keep my mind on things and chat with you guys about games this year so far and stuff like that, because it's been interesting. I'm hoping that I'm going to be in a situation where I can start recording again on a semi or regular basis, kind of around, I'd say, the middle of May, so a couple of months away, which I know kind of sounds like a long time, and believe me, I wish I could be recording videos on a regular basis now, but the general gist of it is I'm changing jobs, moving, all that type of stuff, and it just took up a lot of time, and also I've put a lot of my stuff in kind of storage, so to enable me to move easier and stuff like that, so I haven't got all my setup and everything like that properly. So I'm actually recording this on a headset mic, which if the quality's not that good, then apologies for that. But it's what you've got, basically. So in the background, you'll see some Division 2 gameplay. I'm going to chat a bit about Division 2. I'm going to chat a little bit about all the games this year, I think, and just the ones I've played, I guess, and kind of just chat about my thoughts on them. So there's been some good games, I think, and some not so good games which have come out, and I guess just kind of chat about what I've been playing. Had a pretty quiet kind of February in terms of games. I don't think I got any games that were out in February. January. That's the first month of the year. I was interested in a couple of different things like Ace Combat and stuff like that, but I was just really busy, to be honest with you, and Kingdom Hearts, things like that. It just Resident Evil, they just didn't quite appeal to me, as they would do probably with a lot of people. So I didn't really bother them. The first game I think I picked up of the year was would it have been Far Cry New Dawn, I believe, which was like the middle of February. Just a kind of a bit of a whim. I think I was getting kind of like itchy feet of not having played anything new for a little while. I was playing a lot of Fallout 76, which I still to this day think is a good game. So sorry all those haters out there, but I'm actually really enjoying that game still. I've kind of done the main story now, and really enjoyed that. I might even do a separate video just chatting about that a little bit as well. And with all the updates coming for that and stuff like that, I think it's actually pretty good. A lot better than people give it credit for. But yeah, the first game I picked up was Far Cry New Dawn. I really enjoyed Far Cry 5. I knew exactly what I was getting into with New Dawn, which was it was going to be very, very similar to Far Cry 5, just with this kind of different setting set. Without kind of wanting to spoil too much, I guess I probably will chat a little spoilery about a couple of bits kind of across here, but nothing major. But New Dawn's set, like, I think it's like 18 years or something after Far Cry 5. For those who don't know the ending of Far Cry 5, I'm going to spoil that right now, so if you don't want to know, then skip forward by about 10 seconds. But basically a nuclear bomb goes off, and that's the setting for New Dawn, is like after that nuclear bomb, what's happened. And what's quite nice about it is instead of it being the kind of like very brown and grey and dreary looking apocalypse, it's actually kind of the opposite, and there's this kind of big flourish of colour, and it uses the same map, which a lot of people, I guess, might have a bit of a problem with, but I actually quite liked, because I knew a lot of the places there, and they changed slightly because of the apocalypse and stuff like that, which I thought was actually kind of cool. I kind of like that touch to it. I think I got the game for like £20 on one of those kind of like, key sites or whatever, which I thought is a really good price, like £25 for Far Cry New Dawn. You have a blast with it. It's good fun. It's got that very kind of post-apocalyptic vibe. It's that kind of crazy fun kind of Far Cry stuff. You know what you're getting yourself into, really. It has some cool new mechanics, I think. Things like when you take over an outpost now, you can then salvage it, I think it is, and then it goes back into enemy hands, but they're slightly stronger, and you can do that like 3 times too. It becomes like really strong, and you're kind of building up your own settlement and stuff like that, which is cool. I like it. I must admit, I didn't complete it. I might go back to it at some point. I did with Far Cry 5. I had a break, then I went back and completed it. So I might do that with New Dawn at some point. Um, but yeah, good fun. Really good fun. I think I've got to say that I think Ubisoft, as a developer, there's a few things I don't like about their kind of microtransactions and stuff like that. But I will say that the games they've been producing has been knocking it out of the park. One thing I'm going to say is if you're going to go fairly heavy on microtransactions, you better make damn sure the games you're putting out there are good, without needing to buy microtransactions. I think that's where a lot of other developers have gone wrong. Is they just put out trash games and then try and do microtransactions to hell in it. And I think Ubisoft at least put out very good games. A little bit, they've got their own style, like the Ubisoft genre almost of games, where it's this big open world and that kind of thing. But I think with games like The Division, Far Cry, Assassin's Creed, there's enough diversity in those games that there's something for everyone there. And I think they've been knocking it out of the park recently. I said that when they released Odyssey, that I thought they've been knocking it out of the park recently, and then with New Dawn and Division 2, which we'll talk about in a bit, I think they've really, really. I think they're. I've got to be honest. I think they're number one in the kind of developer, publisher kind of like level now. I don't think there's anybody who is producing the consistency and to be honest, quantity of games that they are producing right now. So they're doing a fantastic job. Long may it continue. Hopefully, with things like Beyond Good and Evil 2, stuff like that, they will be able to. I hope so. Every developer though has a stinker at some point, so we'll see. We'll see. I will say Trials I think wasn't received as well from Ubisoft. I think it was kind of like, but it was also kind of like a lower priced game. You can get that for about 20 quid, 20, about 15, 20 quid. I think a lot of people don't like the progression system in it, but I think it's kind of like a 70 to 80 kind of scoring game, from what I've seen from a lot of reviews and things like that, which isn't a stinker in any way. Um, I guess the next game that I got, that we had this big flurry. We had it this month in a way, but we certainly had it in February last month, where there was this huge flurry of games just coming out at the same time. So New Dawn, Far Cry New Dawn coming out. We had like Crackdown 3, which was by all accounts total trash, coming out. We had Anthem. That I played Anthem. I really disliked Anthem. Really, really did dislike Anthem. So I'm part of the like EA Origin Access thing, so I didn't technically pay for Anthem, um, and I feel like I've got enough use out of that I don't feel like I have paid for Anthem. If that makes sense. I've played enough Battlefield and FIFA to justify, I think. But Anthem, I was really looking forward to. I've liked most of BioWare's games, if not all of them really. I genuinely liked Mass Effect Andromeda. I know a lot of people didn't. Dragon Age, I adore. And Mass Effect, I really like. So I was really intrigued to see how this went. A lot of it looked really cool. Beautiful, beautiful looking game. Really stunning graphically. But just nothing underneath it, is there really? Um, I think the first hour you play that game, you're like, wow, this is great. You know, you kicking off, like you're flying the suit around. You're like, this is amazing. You know, shooting things coming up everywhere. Then you start to play, I think, a little bit more, and then you're like, okay, is this is this just the kind of like early stages? You know, is it gonna kind of something gonna happen to kick off? And I think I got about 7 or 8 hours in, and I was like, this isn't fun. Like I haven't had fun for a long time in this game, and I was kind of just playing it to think, because I was like, it's the new game and stuff like that, and then I could kind of see a lot of other people were like, hang on, what is it with this game? For me, with Anthem, very very bland game. You know, if you take the flying away, it is just the blandest of bland games. The weapons are just boring as hell. Um, the javelins are great. I love that. That the flying mechanic is cool. It's good fun. I like the differences between the different javelins. That's really cool. It's quite unique. That's as far as it goes. The story is just absolute meh, kind of Destiny 1 level meh. Um, the kind of hub home area is just not done very well at all, I don't think, personally. There's no choice. It kind of gives you dialogue choices, but they mean nothing. Um, yeah, there's just no point to it. I'd rather play out just a story, you know, just a flat story with cutscenes than have to choose between two generic answers that mean absolutely nothing. Um, the lore of the world is done in a similar way to how Destiny did, where it's all in kind of like the grimoire, if you like, or the codex. At least in Anthem, it's accessible in game. You know, in Destiny 1, you had to go to a separate website to kind of view it, which was shocking. But it's still very very bland. Characters in it, I think, are very bland. Story is very bland. As I said, the actual combat side of it is just super bland, in my opinion. It's just such a like forgettable game. For what people are saying from the end game is just pretty bad. I don't know many. I haven't seen many people actually be like, hey, no, actually this game's really good fun and that kind of thing. I've just seen people being like, hey, there's cool stuff to it, but it's just, you know, I personally don't see any hope for that game because um, I think EA are so quick to abandon things. You know, if something doesn't go well, you look at Mass Effect Andromeda as a prime example. They had this like story DLC planned and stuff like that, which they were going to do, and then because of the backlash against that and you know everything, they just ditched it and moved on. I think they'll do the same with Anthem personally. I think the player base will drop considerably now Division's out. I think it will continue to drop. Um, the problem I see with these live service games, which that is, it's a similar way to like say Sea of Thieves, which is kind of one which is like Sea of Thieves had a lot of potential in that there were mechanics there which were really great fun. The game looked beautiful. There just was no content in the game, and Anthem I feel was kind of the same thing. Like you have this pretty short kind of single player game. The end game is very very bland. There's the missions are so repetitive and just generic. It you know it could have been made by anybody. You know, there's nothing special there in my opinion at all, other than probably how nice the game looks, which does look really nice, and the actual kind of flying of the javelins and stuff like that is interesting. But there's just no content, and I feel like the problem is that with these live service games, you only kind of get like almost one chance in a way to nail that first impression, and then you're kind of dead because it, I think one of the things about the success of what I feel was like the first live service game, or the first big live service game, which was GTA Online, was there wasn't really anybody else around at that time. So they just had this monopoly where they could take their time. There were some problems to begin with, but there wasn't any competition, so they owned that space, you know. And then as they got better and better, you know, brought out the heist, things like that, there still wasn't really that much competition, you know. It was only when things like I guess Division came out, but then they were kind of broken when they came out. So, and GTA kind of built up, built up, built up. Now, you know, you release Anthem, you have Division 2 come out, you know, just a month later. You have so many other things coming out. Still games ongoing, like say Fallout 76, stuff like that. Um, these kind of live service games, as it were, which are just you just don't have the opportunity to get. Destiny 2 as well, still going, obviously. There's just not that. Um, there's no reason for people to stick around with the game. You know, why would you play Anthem when you can play Destiny 2? It's better. you know what EA and BioWare did was they released a game equivalent to say Destiny 1 when it first launched, which is kind of almost unforgivable because it's like I feel like Anthem should have come out in like a year's time, and they should have actually have made an interesting game. But from what I've seen of the weapons and things like that, one of the things I love about Destiny is the cool weapons and like the differences in the weapons and the different playstyles you get with it. And all I saw with Anthem is just really generic, boring looking weapons. And yeah, I don't know. It didn't look like there was anything that made me want to continue to play the game, and certainly there isn't anything that makes me want to play it. It's just um, a bland, boring game. like it's so disappointing, because you kind of have high hopes. BioWare have made some brilliant games over the year. They've done brilliant things with stories and stuff like that. But I don't know. Just I guess I don't know. You can blame EA all you want, I guess, but it isn't EA, is it really? If you think about it. I mean, EA, I'm sure, will have a lot to say around monetization, stuff like that, but you can make a good game and still monetize it. Like, there's nothing to say you can't. It's like the monetization side of it shouldn't take anything away from the development and building of the game side of it, should it? I mean, it's not that hard to put a store in and put some cosmetics in the store. That's not going to take up years of development time, is it? The game's just bad. Um, and it's super disappointing, I guess. And then I guess you also look at around that time as well, just a weird timing where EA released Apex Legends as well, kind of like very out of the blue. Um, I've played a little bit of it, but I'm not a battle royale kind of guy, to be honest with you. I'm just not. But out of all the battle royales I've played, in terms of PUBG, Fortnite, and Apex Legends definitely is the best, in my opinion, that I've played. The most interesting characters, the most interesting stuff going on, an interesting map, um, interesting new mechanics, in terms of like the resurrection stuff like that, all that, all that kind of things. Um, yeah, just Apex Legends just seemed like a really good, solid game. Made by the guys who did Titanfall, who know a thing or two about kind of that first-person combat type thing. I think they kept it pretty simple. With Apex, they didn't go crazy graphically. The game looks nice, but it's not crazy or anything like that. Um, it has some interesting kind of characters with different character design, which I think I prefer that style where you have like the different characters to play in a kind of Overwatchy style game to just kind of like say a Fortnite where it's like a character and then they get skins or something like that. I prefer it makes it more interesting I think to be like instead of if you're going to play for like a few hours, you want to hot swap between different characters or you really want to focus on one and just nail, that play style. I like that. So personally, I think that adds a little bit more depth to the game. Um, and yeah, it's weird that they kind of released that. It's kind of almost stealth released it, but then it blew up to this massive thing because a good game is a good game, I guess. People are going to play it, and it was free. um, and then you release Anthem, and Anthem is just way worse. Like even like if you turn around and said to me both these games are going to cost you 40 quid, which one are you going to pay? I'd pay for Apex Legends. like it's weird. So even with that kind of like difference between them, it's bizarre to me that EA almost competed with themselves in a bizarre way. As I said, I haven't played a huge amount of Apex Legends. What I played, I enjoyed. I thought it was good, but again, the battle royale thing is not really for me as a genre. I'm a bit more RPG, which you would think I would be going towards Anthem because, but as I said, Anthem is just so bland. It is just boring as hell. Um, you know, it is the kind of video game equivalent to like just bread, which is like bread. It's cool, sandwiches are great, but you need the filling and everything. Like Anthem is just bread, um, bread and water, I guess. But yeah, so really disappointed that with Anthem kind of coming out, not everything's going to be a success or brilliant. You're always going to get that, but then we also had Metro Exodus come out, which I was interested in, but for some I don't know what it was. I didn't pick up Metro. A few of the reviews kind of put me off a little bit. I think it's a type of game which I'll pick up in a few months' time or something like that when the price comes down a little bit and probably enjoy. And the reviews I kind of read said that it didn't do anything interesting in terms of the kind of first-person shooter style. The story's really cool, the setting's amazing, and everything like that. But I never really got into the other Metro games, and I think I'm probably going to give it a bit of a miss, even though it looks stunning. Like as a game, does look stunning. But yeah, I just don't feel like it. Kind of, yeah, it just doesn't have that pull for me personally. That is kind of making me want to pick it up. I think those who like the Metro series or like that kind of genre of game will probably really love it, and I know there's a lot of people out there who have really enjoyed it, but it's I don't think it's necessarily the sort of thing I'm really going to be into. So could probably give that a miss. So for I think overall, like February, it was a little bit of a disappointment. The only thing I kind of liked in February was Far Cry. I think Crackdown 3. I mean, when it was announced, I was like, wow, that'd be cool. I'd love to play Crackdown on my PC. And then as it got closer, you could just tell this game was not good. What happened to Microsoft? Like they just haven't made a good first party game, have they? Well, maybe first party, but like an affiliated exclusive game. It's everything they've made has just been bad. And I don't mean. So it's hard to call something like uh, Sea of Thieves bad because I don't think it's a bad game. I just think it's like very content light, still very content light. Um, but a great kind of premise and idea and an interesting game in mechanics and stuff, but nothing spectacular. If you compare that to things that Sony are releasing, it just blows out the water, doesn't it? Microsoft have brought a lot of studios, and I think when you see the release of the next console generation, I think Microsoft they could put out a few surprises and stuff like that. But you got to say they've been well and truly beaten this this generation. Like the games they're putting out are just either very very poor or just very kind of like average. Like 70 scores across the board, stuff like that. So yeah, just disappointing really. It's always disappointing when video game not necessarily was like really looking forward to Crackdown, but it was like, oh, that could be pretty cool, and then it kind of comes out and it's like, this is just bad, graphically bad, storyline bad, does absolutely nothing new really, and yeah, guess you've got to move on, haven't you? So other than the kind of Far Cry New Dawn, which is not going to be for everyone, I think February was a super disappointing month. Um, but I think March is going to go down in history as like, oh, remember March 2019? That was a great one because um, I picked up Devil May Cry 5 and I've really been enjoying that. I haven't played a super amount of it because I've been really into Division 2, which came out a week later, and then next week or in a few days' time, we've got Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, which looks really good as well. But going back to Devil May Cry 5, I played a little bit of, I think 1, 2, and a little bit of 3, but then I kind of dropped out with 4. I didn't play the reboot either, so it's been a while. Um, but jumping back into that, the thing which impressed me most about Devil May Cry 5, I haven't completed it yet. I'm only kind of on mission like 5 or 6, so not very far into it. But it feels really slick. Like sometimes I've got to say, with the kind of Konami games, they could feel a little bit kind of like, in terms of just the overall quality and polish of the game, doesn't quite feel that good. Um, for this, it actually feels really polished. Feels really nice. Um, Obviously, you kind of know what you're getting into with the Devil May Cry game, but so far, like I'm engrossed in the story. It seems really interesting. There's loads of different things to do. Obviously, there's different characters you will play as you go through. Um, you know, it's challenging but not broken. You know, I'm not playing it on the hardest difficulty or anything like that by a long way, but it's challenging but not like, you know, kind of like stupidly hard or anything like that. Yeah, just kind of good fun game. Bit cheesy here and there, but seemed really good. Very solid, very smooth. Feels great to play. Um, yeah, I really like Devil May Cry 5. I actually got it kind of for free because um, AMD were running a promotion where if you bought one of their graphics cards, you got a choice of two free games with it out of Division 2, Devil May Cry, and Resident Evil remake. And so what I did was I brought an AMD card for like £150. I got Devil May Cry 5 and The Division from that for free, and then I sold the card for like 30 quid less than I bought it for. So technically, I got Devil May Cry and Division 2 for 30 quid, which I think is a good little bit of like wheeler dealing personally. And they're both really good games. So moving on to Division 2, which I am kind of in love with as a game because I really liked Division 1. I really liked it. When it first came out, it had a lot of backlash, you know, like this is broken, that's broken, blah blah blah. But I just loved the setting. I liked the gameplay. I liked everything about that game, really. Other than once you kind of completed the game, I loved the Dark Zone, but there was a problem with like kind of end game content. I don't really like the term end game content because I feel like nowadays in these games, end game content seems to not really be the end game. It's kind of like the mid game in a way. Um, but you know, kind of like after the main story gameplay. Um, yeah, and you know, it had some problems, and then I think the first DLC that came out was a bit underwhelming, but DLC after that was really good. Like the survival DLC stuff like that was really interesting. They did some story stuff. They sorted out a lot of stuff with it. You know, got a lot of feedback from the community, and there was a lot of love for that game. You know, by towards the end of its lifespan, and so I think there was a lot of hype around Division 2. And so far, for me personally, it is delivering on a big scale. I really like the new setting in Washington DC. Um, I will say I preferred the first setting, but that's not to say this one is bad. As I say, I really like this setting and what they've done with it. But the feel of like the snow in the kind of like depth and cold of winter, trudging around New York, you know, that that you know, to use a phrase that Ubisoft used too much, it was iconic, and it added so much to the game. I think Washington's great, and there's obviously lots and lots of iconic kind of buildings and things like that. But it's just that because it's kind of set in this kind of springtime and it's a lot greener and lush and stuff like that, it doesn't quite for me personally, have the same feel that Division One had. But it's not bad, you know. If Division One for me, kind of like in terms of atmosphere and feel, is like a 10 out of 10. This is like a 9 out of 10. It's only just kind of missing it slightly, and I think that's just because Division One like nailed for me what was like just perfect, you know. It felt great, that kind of like the Christmas decorations and stuff like that. It was cool. Um, yeah, storyline is it's I like the storyline because it's set a good few months, or quite nearly a year, I think, after Division One. So after the outbreak, Division One's set very close to the outbreak. This one's set like a year after. It feels like it's set kind of like a little bit later with the way things are going, but I you have to kind of have a little bit of suspension of disbelief with everything that of what's happened. But I can kind of believe it. And there's these kind of like these settlements around which you help out, and there's obviously these three rival gangs. I've seen a lot of review scores kind of around the 80s for it, and I kind of understand it in a way because they recycle a lot of the kind of enemies from the first one. There's a very similar generic enemies. The guys with shotguns who run at you, the sniper people, the just the usual grunts, um, the the big kind of like yellow boss guys with lots of armor and stuff like that. There's new things chucked in there every now and then. There's some very cool, interesting things kind of chucked in there. Remote control buggies, rocket launchers, stuff like that, which do mix it up a little bit. But it kind of feels like the way they did it with Destiny 2, which was that they kind of like kept the same enemies as Destiny 1. They just made slightly different animations with them. And they called them slightly. They didn't even call them different things in Destiny 2. At least they've done that in Division 2. But I'm okay with it because the AI is definitely a lot better, I think, than Division 1 in terms of what the guys do. And it's still a lot of fun. But I kind of understand it is very similar to Division 1 in what you do. There's not a lot new in terms of gameplay mechanics, but it has a really nice feel to it, I think, which I like. So yeah, as I said, it's kind of set within that kind of Washington DC. Graphically, it's a big upgrade. It looks really nice. Runs really well as well. Straight out, I've got a decent PC, um, and I'm getting kind of 4K high at pretty steady 55 to 60 frames per second, and it looks beautiful. It really does. It looks really nice. So it's great. Missions wise, I think are a lot better than the first one. The first one had a lot of filler missions, and they had a few standout ones, which was like great. I remember the one particular where you had to turn the lights on in Times Square, or put the power back in Times Square, and it was cool. I really liked it. Um, and But this one I feel like has just gone next level with the missions. There's so many different museums you kind of have missions in, which are just so cool. Um, and they all kind of follow the same kind of straightforward kind of pattern in a way, which is like you enter building, work your way through building to roof or under building or whatever, and shoot people on the way. There's little restock points, and then you might go into a big room and there's going to be enemies, stuff like that. But there's something quite compelling about that, and just I don't know, just it feels good. It feels like a good kind of gameplay loop, I think, to kind of play through that. So I don't know. I like it personally. I can understand some people might not be for everyone, might not be the gameplay loop, but I like it. It's fun. You got new skills, some of the old ones as well. Personally, I love the drone. Um, I'm not saying it's the best skill out there or whatever, but I just really like it, so I use it a lot. It's just good fun. Um, Different things like the chem launcher is pretty cool. You've got the kind of the hive, which is like this kind of like grenade type thing. I've been trying to experiment with different, play with different ones, and they're good fun. I like it. Nothing mind-blowingly new, but still good fun. Weapon-wise, very similar to Division One as well. Marksman rifles, assault rifles, pistols, shotguns, light machine guns, submachine guns. Very similar feeling, kind of thing. Tweaked it up a little bit. Things like the mods are now you kind of like craft one mod and then you can fit it multiple times on multiple weapons. It's not like a singular item anymore. Um, and the mods are very much more balanced, so they have one negative and one positive perk. So it's kind of what your playstyle is that you might want to fit them, or you may even want to not fit them, if that makes sense as well. So I don't know if I like that or not. I kind of liked the slight overpoweredness of the mods of Division One, but you know, um, yeah, and so far I just really love it. There's so much loot in the game, like it's almost ridiculous the amount of loot. um, it kind of I'm level 21 I think now. I don't know how long I've played actually. Let me just look it up. I've played 20 hours in the game. 408 items looted in 20 hours, which is how how many items per minute is that? Let's work this out. So 400. So how many minutes? 20 times 60 is 1,020. Divide that by 408. So um, we need 408 divided by. Oh, hang on, sorry. I'm trying to do maths here. So 1,200. So 408 divided by 1,200. So 0.34 items. So basically, I loot one item every 3 minutes. It's kind of ridiculous, isn't it? When you think about it. Like, I feel like they went to an approach where it's like, look, this is a looter shooter, so you know we need there to be a lot of loot because that has been some criticism that other games have had. It's like, especially Anthem, which is like the loot is boring as hell. Like, you know, so it's like let's just drop loads of loot. Um, yeah, so I don't know. There's so much loot. It kind of you become a little bit deadened to it. Like after a while, you're not even looking at the stuff you're picking up. You know. But that's okay. You know, I still get excited every time I see a purple at the minute. I haven't got to the point whereby I'm getting anything better than a purple, but I'm still like, ooh, purple. As I was with blues when I started getting them, as I was with greens when I started getting them, I guess. So there's still a really nice loop there along the way. My one criticism of the loot in the game is that because they've gone down the microtransaction route for the apparel, so things you wear, I found that is hardly dropping at all in the world. I've got a few interesting items, but it's really rare, really, really rare. So they've obviously nerfed that. In the first game, honestly, you picked up so much, like clothing items. It was almost ridiculous. That was like that. They've like switched the loot and clothing in Division Two compared to Division One. I feel. And one of the things I loved about Division One was the amount of different clothing items you got, even though sometimes it would just be a different coloured jacket. But I did really love that. So that kind of disappoints me a little bit, I think, with the Division Two. But I kind of understand it as well. Like, you know, they they got money to be made, and if you're going to monetize anything, monetize the cosmetics. Not, you know, it'd be worse if they were like, yeah, hey, do you want to buy these loot crates? You know, to get all these purple and gold weapons or whatever. I haven't been to the Dark Zone yet, but I'm looking forward to doing that. I haven't done Strongholds yet. Looking forward to doing them. I've just been doing main missions and clearing out areas and stuff like that, and just having an absolute blast with the game. Really have. Playing it solo as well. People talk about like, oh, solo, like, oh, you're gonna die so much, really difficult. I think it's not that difficult. You just have to have a particular cautious playstyle. Um, you know, marksman rifle, shotgun, or LMG, and you know, just be very cautious, be very aware of your surroundings, take it slow, you know, get those headshots in. Like I can pretty much one shot people if I headshot them now, and yeah, just I think after a while I found it much tougher to begin with when you didn't really have the skills as much, and you didn't get the extra bonuses from your armor sets and things like that. As soon as you start getting those, you start working on them. I think you start to out level, or you start to out damage the enemies by a lot. You know, if you can with a marksman rifle, I can headshot someone and kill them outright. That's that's pretty good. You know, I can kill a purple with 2 to 3 shots, which is again pretty good. So um, yeah, really enjoying the game. Really enjoying it. Played it a lot. I guess 20 hours is a lot for me to put into a game which has only been out for what, 5 days. Yeah, it's a lot. I didn't even get to play it on the day it came out either because I was working. So I've only had 2 days, I guess, to actually play it properly. So uh, I've made the most of that, definitely. And very, very excited for that and to see that kind of end game content and for DLC and stuff like that. So yeah, this has definitely been my favourite game this year, Division 2. Sekiro comes out Friday. Really super looking forward to that as well. Hopefully that's going to be good. I haven't played much of the Dark Souls kind of gameplay, but I loved Neo and I loved Bloodborne. So this looks like it's kind of like an extension of that. So quite hyped for it. Hopefully it's good. It's actually by the daddies, from software. So yeah, it looks good. It's on PC straight out the bat as well. So hopefully that's good port. Um, but we'll see, I guess. Anyway, I just kind of wanted to give you guys an update on what I've been playing, my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think as well. And yeah, maybe I'll do another video in a week or two. Just give my thoughts on some other things. But till then, guys, thanks for watching. As I said, stay tuned. I'll be back at some point. And I'll give you all the life updates as well. Till then, see you soon. Bye bye.